sure you're ready for this?
I'll do my best.
Your best? Losers always whine about their best. Winners go home and the prom queen.
Welcome to the best soccer show. The best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go. Best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV. Sunday nights, best soccer show. We are live. We are here. The music. I dropped the music just a touch too early. Like I needed some backing there. Jared DuBois with me.
That's okay. You had a lot of enthusiasm going. I know why you have enthusiasm too.
Yes, I have enthusiasm for reasons people can figure out if they follow me on Twitter, and we will move on quickly from there.
No, it's okay because I kind of wanted to talk a little bit of. Okay, first of all, you're excited because your Broncos are in the Super Bowl. I'll say it because I know you were committed not to talk about the Broncos, but that's okay. And good luck to you, sir. I hope everything goes well. I'm a big Peyton Manning fan, so I'm happy to see it. The second thing I wanted to talk about, in regards along the same lines, is so I watched the Seattle game today, the Seattle versus the 49ers game. You mean the first game I've watched like from the beginning, like almost a full game until we came on the air right now.
Okay.
All season long. I haven't watched any football. And
yes,
I'm kind of surprised. And maybe it's Seattle for some reason one that's making me feel this, but how come there isn't more crossover between different teams in the same stadium in terms of chants and how they participate as a crowd? Because, for example, Seattle has so many things that they could easily cross over with the Seahawks as well. And I have a feeling the fan bases aren't that derisive of each other.
I think it's a lot of the same people. Yes, go ahead.
So I don't understand why those things don't overlap a little bit more. Because take, for example, if London got an NFL team, don't you think there's going to be football chants to come to football in London?
Yes, absolutely.
I wonder why there's not city-specific chants that don't kind of cross those ranges.
It's a good question. I think that for the most part, soccer fans like to segregate themselves. I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. I'm not saying that sporting Kansas City fans don't want to be lumped in with Kansas City Chiefs fans. I think for the most part, they share that fandom. I mean, this is where I want us to be as a soccer nation. I want people to be a fan of the Seahawks and the Sounders and the fans of Sporting Kansas City to be fans of the Chiefs, fans of the Rapids to be fans of the Broncos, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I want that to happen. I think that's a good.
I think there's a little bit of a self-defense mechanism though, because soccer had to be you had to segregate yourself to protect yourself to a certain extent. But things like the boom boom clap, that's an easy thing that can be a CenturyLink thing, a Seattle thing. It doesn't have to be a Sounders thing. It just always kind of surprises me, and maybe I don't know how the organizations are run and how much cooperation they have between the two, but I was kind of surprised to see that things that work aren't adopted.
The two, here's the thing. This is the truth. At things that happen at the fan level are different than things that happen at the organizational level, right? We know that. I mean, fans drive their own cheers and chants and things and create their own traditions, whereas the organization might do something completely different. I mean, the two places that it would make the most sense are Seattle, and it would be, I'm assuming there's some overlap in what happens in that stadium. I don't know how much. I'm not in the building. I only get the Seahawks and the Sounders on TV.
Yeah,
but I'm assuming there's some, and because those two organizations are tied together directly, and then in New England, obviously, with the Revolution and the Patriots.
You're not going to have a bunch of dudes firing off muskets in the middle of a Patriots game, even though it makes kind of sense.
No, you might. I don't know if that does. I'm not. That may happen there, and we just never see it on TV. I don't know.
That's true. That's true as well. There is. I totally agree with you. Craft ownership, same building. I think part of it is I don't know that the New England Revolution have anything that's considered a stalwart thing that represents them in the crowd, like Seattle has built.
Well, the difference between the two examples is that the Crafts have always treated the Revolution as the kind of, a distraction or another thing that they do, but it's always been treated on a different level than the Patriots. Whereas in Seattle, from the beginning, and there's that book out there, apologies, I can't remember what it's called. It's like Authentic Masterpiece or something. It talks about specifically how those two organizations tied together from the very beginning of the Sounders, and that made things easier for the Sounders in terms of recognition and sort of just their image in the community. If you called up the Seahawks, you got somebody who said Seattle Seahawks and Seattle Sounders at the same time. That put them on the same level. You don't get that when you call Gillette Stadium.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that the only time I can remember a football team doing a TIFO was the Cleveland Browns, I think, which is not really connected to soccer at all. You expect to see something like that in Seattle.
What you're saying speaks exactly to the same phenomenon that I talk about when I say we're not ready for soccer to be a winter sport in this country. It's about what we're conditioned to. Even if we're talking about the same actual fans, like even if we're talking about Seattle Sounders fans who also are Seattle Seahawks fans, they're conditioned in their different seasons to treat their teams in different ways. So they go in the summer, they go watch the Sounders. In the winter, they go watch the Seahawks. If you switch the season for MLS and you put MLS in the winter, those same people, they might go out to a couple of Sounders games, but it's not going to become a habit for them. They're locked in to treating the Seahawks as their winter sport, and I
think it's a little oversimplification. I think that, listen, it's Seattle, it's cold. You need a scarf in winter as much as you need a scarf in the summer. You know that you can still put a scarf up when the Seattle's. I mean, I think there's marketing sides, like if they're not selling Seattle Seahawks scarves in the winter, they're kind of silly because they have a fan base that already knows how to use them and use them as a marketing thing and use them as a participatory thing in the stadium. I don't know. Yeah. I just think there's opportunities there. I'd like to see that grow. And I'm really excited that if one day London does get a NFL franchise, and I mean, that's a big if, but some people talk about it.
Abomination. I'm sorry. That would be an abomination for me. It would be. I'm an NFL fan. I'm a soccer fan. I think that would be ridiculous. Go ahead.
I mean, it's only 3 more hours flight to go from New York to LA to New York to London.
Yeah, okay. Whatever the reason, we're not going to debate that. Obviously, it would be interesting. Yeah. Let's just say it would be interesting to see how the fans, the fans of London, who even the ones who have adopted NFL football as one of their sports, they grew up on soccer. They grew up on their version of football. It'd be interesting to see how they treated it. All right, we are live. It is a Sunday night. Our phone lines are open, 201-430-2378. As you may or may not be watching NFL football. If you are, fine, I understand. You'll listen to this later. If you're not, thank you very much for listening. We are live for a reason. We would like to get the interaction. We want to get people involved. We've got some topics to talk about tonight, Jared. It's not one of those bursting at the seams news weeks, but it actually does. There are a couple of very interesting things, stuff that may have flown under the radar for people that I think are interesting. Let's start with what happened on Thursday in Philadelphia, the MLS SuperDraft, 2014 MLS SuperDraft. I was there. Trevor was there. You were not because you live in freaking Los Angeles. It was another one of those super drafts, and this was my third one, by the way, not consecutive, but my third super draft, where I felt like the actual selection of the players available was secondary to all of the other stuff that flows around MLS. And in this particular offseason, we have like 8 stories that were dominating the headlines. And I think that was what this was more about. All right, let's go to the phone lines and see what's going on with the people out there. 951, you're on the air.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? It's Giovanni.
Hey, Giovanni, what's up, man?
Not much, man. Just making real quick to call you guys while watching the football game. I want to throw my 2 cents in, man. I want to go back to one of the shows I heard you guys, because I don't really listen to you live. I listen to podcasts because I'm at work.
Okay.
Every time you guys are live.
Go.
So I want to bring a reference to you bringing up Xavi to the MLS, to the New York Red Bulls.
Yes.
I gotta say, man, I think that would be like the best thing that happened to MLS, man. And then I believe it's Jared that said that you wouldn't want Xavi here in the MLS.
No, I think both of us.
I was pretty big a fan of it.
Jared was over there, pitching a tent. I was on board too. Trust me.
Yes.
I don't think that either one of us were against it. Now, let me say this, Giovanni, since you brought it up, and this is a show in the past when we addressed it. Since that show, there has been a report out that where Xavi said, "No, I've never heard anything from any New York team. I'm not going. What are you talking about?"
Oh, okay, yeah, because like I said, sometimes my own information comes from you guys.
Well, okay, well,
that's dangerous. It's not dangerous to get it from Jason. It's dangerous to get it from me.
Well, no, it's dangerous to get it. It's obviously dangerous to get it from us when it's after the fact. And yeah, I'm sorry to burst your bubble. Thanks for the call, Giovanni. Sorry to burst your bubble. It is a fact that well, okay, it was reported, because just like it was reported, it was a done deal. It was reported that
Tancredi Palmieri is a good source as well.
No, well, Tancredi Palmieri was reporting
Italia
what
Sport
was reporting, and again, this is another report, but the other report was Javi saying, "No, I have no contact. I don't even have Thierry Henry's phone number." 678, you're on the air. Who's this?
What are your thoughts on Andre Lewis and the Vancouver Whitecaps and some story that came out about him in the Cosmos or some regarding about MLS
All
and
right,
stuff?
you want to skip ahead to Andre Lewis? He's definitely on our rundown today. What's your name, by the way?
Kyle.
Kyle, where are you from?
Atlanta.
Thanks for calling, Kyle. I appreciate it. Let's address this. You want to address Andre Lewis right now, Jared?
I was ready to talk another Andre first, but we can jump to Andre Lewis because I think it's the bigger story. And you talked about the draft being less about who was selected and what happened around the selections themselves.
Yes.
And the Andre Lewis is a big story coming out of it because it's just one more chink in the armor of all the things that MLS tries to get on board and all the different things MLS does coming out of the NCAA into professional sports. It's odd.
I'm not going to give anyone any and actually, you want to don't let me forget. I'm going to reference an American Soccer Now piece in just a second.
Oh, it's a great piece. I read that one as well.
Okay, good. The Andre Lewis situation. Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know what happened with Andre Lewis, he is a Jamaican kid. He was in the Caribbean Combine, which is brand new. CFU and MLS getting together. Let's get some kids some visibility with MLS teams, and maybe we can pull them into the draft, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, guys like Deshaun Brown, Darren Maddox have shown that's a great jumping out point for MLS.
There has long been a pipeline to Jamaica for MLS. Why? If Deshaun Brown went to American college, Darren Maddox went to American college. The guy in Colorado, Omar Cummings, went to American college. Not every Jamaican kid's going to go to American college. So the ones that don't get there, maybe you want to have a chance to draft him. Andre Lewis was drafted number 7 by the Vancouver Whitecaps in this year's SuperDraft. After he was drafted, now let's say this: he tweeted some excitement. Yay! Hooray! I'm a Whitecaps player. I'm excited. Blah blah blah. After he was drafted, the story started to roll that he was already signed, and this is, I believe, Ivis Gullersep at Goal.com first reported it. He was already signed by the New York Cosmos. That he had gone on a trip with them last year after their NCL Soccer Bowl championship
to Spain, I believe.
Spain. He had played in some exhibitions. He had been across, and they had signed him. And here's one of the key factors, and I don't know this to be the truth. This is what I saw reported. He was signed between the Caribbean Combine and the MLS draft. Okay, so that's what I heard. I don't know if that's absolutely the truth, but that's one of the things I heard. In the aftermath, it was when the report came out from Gullersep that he had signed with the Cosmos, it was immediately assumed that either A, the Vancouver Whitecaps screwed up because we know what happened with them and Camilo, and we'll get to that later too, or B, MLS screwed up because what typically happens, MLS is a single entity. They sign all the contracts. You would assume that MLS screwed it up and didn't sign the kid to a contract.
No, I think this was an example of a kid that if he got drafted to a team he liked, or a place in the world he liked, this might have come out differently. I think because the Cosmos contract's an insurance policy. Why else do you go through this whole process if you have something in your back pocket already?
Sure, that's possible. The other thing is, okay, look, I mean, in the aftermath, and it took MLS and the it took MLS and the Whitecaps, excuse me, not the Cosmos, a little while to say we've got an agreement in place. If he ends up sticking with the Whitecaps, meaning if he makes our team, we've got a loan deal in place or whatever it was. Now, that didn't make everybody believe that they really had their crap together, but I think it's possible that was always the case. I mean, MLS made him available for the draft. He signed a contract with the Cosmos. Were they supposed to take him off the draft list at that point? I mean, I'm not really sure what was supposed to happen.
The way I see it, if the player isn't signed with MLS and you don't have a contractual agreement that the player will play for your league, and that's the way it has to be in MLS, not with a team, with the league, I mean, then you don't put him in your draft. I mean,
No. That's nonsense because every other draft in this country, players get picked who are not already signed. Sometimes there's disagreements. The difference here is, and we got a phone call, I'll get to you in a second, dude. The difference is that in MLS, these players have more options than they do in NFL or NBA or whatever. So think about Dominic Cervi is the perfect example. It was drafted by the Chicago Fire, did not end up signing with the Chicago Fire. There have been examples of this. Maybe it was a Fire. Maybe I can't
remember if was it Jared Jeffries that did the same thing with DC United. Someone did that to DC United as well.
It happens. I don't know that I'm upset about the Whitecaps.
So the bigger issue is that it's another American team on a lower division. That's the issue then. If he was already had an agreement in principle with a League Two side in England, we're not having the same discussion. It's because it's the Cosmos.
Yeah, I think so. People's heads are exploding because it's the Cosmos. 304, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, this is Matt.
Hey, what's up, Matt?
Hey, guys. I just wanted to change the subject just for a second. Sorry, I haven't been following the MLS draft, but
go ahead.
I should follow that closer, but I'm just not interested. I don't know why, but I was thinking about Michael Bradley recently, and I was thinking about the deal he got with Toronto, and how I don't see how anyone who's a rational thinker could turn that down.
Right.
But I was thinking, like, why wouldn't he structure a clause in there like Dempsey did, where he could go on loan and play for a team in Europe? That way he could be ready for the World Cup.
He may have that in there. We don't know. He may not. I mean, look.
Okay, yeah, you're right. The window's still open. Maybe he'll go on.
But see here, Matt. Here's the thing. When you join the team, is it wise to immediately invoke that clause and jump back over to Europe?
Oh, come on, it's the World Cup. It's coming up. I mean, you think he could, like, I don't know.
But here's the thing, Matt. If he takes a loan deal with the
right.
Go ahead, Jared.
If here's the thing, Matt, if he takes a loan deal with a European club, a team he's never played for before, he has to earn his way in the team. It's not guaranteed that he's going to get minutes wherever he goes. I mean, he has to fit into it somehow. With Toronto, he is the guy. He will play every minute that he's available, and he knows where. So why would he take a risk for a month and a half here?
Yeah, man, I just think it's unreasonable to think that a guy
right. Dempsey goes to Fulham and he's got a rest there, and so
Dempsey
it's not like he's starting from scratch.
And Dempsey also played for 3 months with his new team before the season ended, and he decided to go to Fulham. I mean, Bradley is coming into this now. Look, I know it bothers people that he's not playing for January or February, but camps open in like 7 days. MLS camps open very, very soon. It's not like he's not going to be touching a ball for 3 months.
Well, let me give you another perspective on this. I think MLS may have learned something from the whole Beckham thing, where they get a guy and he's supposed to debut and he's hurt. I mean, do you want to take that risk when you're putting $9 million transfer, $6.5 million salary on a guy that he's not going to be ready opening day?
You don't turn down the opportunity to bring Michael Bradley back, even if you are going to pay him a buttload of money. You don't turn down the opportunity to bring him back if he wants the clause that says I can go back to Europe on loan. Now, there are a lot of moving parts here. It's not guaranteed that somebody's going to want him on loan, and even if they do, it's not guaranteed he wants to go to that place. It's not like he's going to go right back to Roma, and it's not like he has a Fulham a relationship with a club like Dempsey has with Fulham, and
unless you want him going back to Borussia Mönchengladbach or something like that.
They're like top 5 in the table right now. I don't think he's going back to Gladbach. I mean, there are a lot of factors involved that dictate whether or not that even makes sense for him. He could go to a lower division team somewhere. He can go help Bolton. Bolton just got spanked 7-1 or something on the weekend. So I guess he could go help somebody like that. But is that really better than sitting out the season? I mean, sitting out the off season from us, getting warmed up here in the next 2 weeks and joining TFC.
Is Michael Bradley's in no different position than Landon Donovan in terms of preparedness for the World Cup right now?
Exactly.
Are you worried? Is anyone worried that Landon Donovan's not going to be ready for the World Cup?
In fact, Michael Bradley has played more recently at a high level than Landon Donovan has, and he's going to go into the season and he'll get he got 3 weeks of rest or whatever it is, and he'll get training time, which is not as intensive as regular season, and he'll get ready. He'll know his teammates in Toronto and he'll work it. They're paying him a lot of money, and I understand that, Jared, people automatically look at this from the U.S. national team perspective. I get it. We're not for the funny thing about this whole situation is that those of us that are U.S. national team fans and care about Michael Bradley are definitely not TFC fans. There's like a disconnect, it's by country. So we want to see him playing, or we want to see him getting his reps, or we want to see this and that. TFC's paying him a lot of money. They want him to come into camp ready to go, nice and smooth, easy transition, get to know Jermaine Defoe won't join him.
A full preseason as well to get some chemistry going.
Absolutely. 631, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hi, this is Joe.
What's up, Joe?
Hi.
If you have
I just donated today, so I want to call him.
Oh, man, appreciate that. Soccer Morning, the campaign for Soccer Morning has reached its goal. Did that Friday. It's been a fantastic couple of days. Thank you very much.
5 days early, I think, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. Well, I'm just calling up again about the Lewis situation and the Cosmos.
Sure.
I think you started to talk about it, but it was breaking up a little bit here. What's the Cosmos upside of this? What are they going to get out of this?
Headlines?
Well, yeah, there's definitely that. Look,
headline.
I don't blame the Cosmos are not beholden to a draft system.
They should be trying to get the best players available to them at all times.
If they identified Andre Lewis as a talent that they wanted in their system, they have every right to go sign him because they are not beholden to MLS's draft system. Now, if MLS wants to bring him into their league, they can say, okay, you've got a contract with him. And again, I'm not going to assume that MLS didn't know this was happening, which is what everybody seems to be assuming. And MLS screwed it up, and the Whitecaps screwed it up. Look, MLS screws up all the time. I don't know that they screwed this one up. So, look, from the Cosmos perspective, if he doesn't work out in MLS, they get a shot at him. Even if he does, maybe he decides that, the Whitecaps aren't for me. It's more than likely it's going to be a loan, right?
I think these guys. I think it's easier for American sports fans to think about this issue if they think of it equated to college football. Every college in the nation scouts high schools. Right. Division I isn't owed the best players. If you can scout a player that Division I guys fall through the cracks, he's yours. So Cosmos should be scouting every person they can, especially in the fringes down in the Caribbean, if possible. I mean, USC isn't owed the top guys coming out of high school every year. It just usually happens that way because people all scout the same people, and the people want to go where the money is. But if you're a young guy coming from Jamaica, do you want the big lights of New York, or do you want Vancouver? Is the drop-off really that much, honestly, as well, between the Cosmos and Vancouver?
Look, you just asked, what did the Cosmos get out of it? The Cosmos they have him under contract. They get money from MLS for the loan fee, or if he doesn't if he doesn't work, or his salary is taken care of by MLS, because that's typically what happens on a loan. The team that's taking him pays his salary. They don't have to pay a salary, but he gets to develop there. And if he develops there, and one day he can come back to the Cosmos, they benefit. Or MLS decides,
so
hey,
if we need a midfielder later on, we take him back.
Or that's partly up to Andre Lewis, partly up to the Cosmos, and partly up to MLS. Ultimately, MLS runs their loan agreements with an option to buy. So more than likely, the Whitecaps will have a pre-agreed upon fee in the loan agreement, whether it's $150,000, $500,000. I don't think it's going to be anything more than that. And that way, the Cosmos get cash straight into their pocket for having signed Andre Lewis before the Whitecaps got to him. That's it.
Now, could they actually have 10 players signed like this, and we don't know about the other players, or? Do you think this is
they could? That doesn't necessarily.
I think it would have met the light of day by now because all the paperwork starts as soon as the draft is over. So I think these things starting to.
Yeah, well, sorry, Jared. It wouldn't actually make sense for them to do that. If you have a player signed, you either want him in your camp and playing for you because you're paying him for doing nothing otherwise, or you want him out on loan like this would more than likely this is gonna happen where he's gonna be out.
If you start doing the practices that the caller's talking about, Cosmos starts being more like traffic then, more of an agency rather than a team. And that's possible. They can put they can have homegrown talent. They can start academies and do whatever they want to get these guys. But I mean, there's a way that traffic operates where they own all these players and kind of like shepherd them out to other clubs. And I don't think Cosmos' idea is to do that. They just signed a player.
Yeah, I think this is just one of those one-off situations. Thanks for the call, Joe. I appreciate it, man. This was one-off situations where just there is some kind of conflict. It just hasn't happened. I think people are making a bigger deal out of it than it needs to be. By the way, do you know who Andre Lewis's agent is?
Who?
I think former Jamaican MLS player. You probably
Andy Williams.
No, he's working for
RSL. I don't know. That's what came to my mind.
Yeah, Damani Ralph.
Damani Ralph is an agent now?
Damani Ralph is an agent now. Absolutely.
I was a big fan of Damani Ralph and Ante Razov back in the day.
So there you go. Andre Lewis is the talk of the town, the talk of the air, the talk of MLS coming out of the MLS SuperDraft, which is, again, odd and only speaks to the issue that the SuperDraft is not in and of itself drawing the headlines. The commissioner speaks. He answers questions. The press who are there bum rush him between the first and the second round. There's a very small window between the first and the second round. The commissioner steps off. He does the first round announcements. He steps off stage. He's done. He passes it on. In this case, in Philadelphia, there are a lot of topics to ask Don Garber about. What's the deal with the TV? What's the deal with Camilo? What's the deal with David Beckham in Miami? What's the deal with the stadium in New England? What's the deal with the stadium in DC? And I'm missing some. There's even other stories that are he made sure to let.
I think the Camilo one was one of the biggest ones that people were asking at that time. Right?
He made sure everybody knew that the league is losing $75 to $100 million a year. That he made sure to do that because he's got.
Which goes back to the point we were making on our last show. You have all these good media stories about how well the league's doing, so he has to balance it out somewhere with the CBA coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, phone line's still open. 201-430-2378. All right, you mentioned Camilo. Let's do Camilo. Let's talk about Camilo. I'm not sure that there's anything to do except for put a bow on it and say the Whitecaps say that they've negotiated a multi-million-dollar fee. Why
not disclose it?
Well, because MLS.
If it's a record-setting transfer.
Because MLS doesn't disclose. Well, first of all, it's a Whitecaps record, not an MLS record. But they don't disclose. I mean, this is not surprising that they don't disclose it. If it was every other transfer fee is disclosed, and they didn't disclose this one, then we might have reason to question them. If anything, we're going to find out this transfer fee from Mexican sources. And I get your reason for being skeptical, and I'm with you. Considering everything that happened before this, for them to sort of say, well, we negotiated a multi-million-dollar fee, there's nothing to see here, move on, kind of sounds, it doesn't.
Okay, really. Now, just so we're clear, when you hear multi-million, that means at least two, right?
At least two, yeah.
If they come out with 1.2, that someone's trying to spin something.
I don't think that they're going. I don't think they would say multi-million unless it was. But again, I don't know because they are trying to say.
I'd be surprised if they can get that much because Vancouver had so little sway in the deal. When the player wants to go and the media's already picked up on it, I think you lose all leverage you have in the deal, other than the fact you own the guy's card.
This is why it's not a number. It's a description. $multi-million. That's why it surprised me. Not necessarily because he's not worth it, because I think he is worth it in the end, but because why does Querétaro have any reason to pay it if they're willing to go to the wall with Camilo on the option? So either they folded on the option, the fact that it was a unilateral option and typically FIFA doesn't recognize it, and oh my gosh, because it was interesting to see sort of the ebb and flow of opinion and where these were coming from as to whether or not that option would hold up with FIFA or with the Court of Arbitration for Sport or whoever in the end. And the guess being that MLS didn't want to go to that extreme because they would lose. I'm not so sure they would lose.
I'm just surprised that the Mexican team of choice here was willing to work with Camilo on this level in such a shady way, because you got to think that over the years, this is a team that could benefit a lot from having relationships with MLS.
Yeah.
So it seems odd to kind of toe this line right here. The player probably could have been gotten either way. So it's odd to just assist the guy in such a shady way and bring him down there and put him pictures in your kit and everything like that. When down the road, these two leagues are going to do a lot of business together.
Well, you would assume that, yeah. I mean, remember, MLS is a single entity representing.
Disrespectful, to be honest with you, to MLS.
Whereas Liga MX is individual clubs all operating on their own accord, and Querétaro may get the blackball treatment, but that doesn't mean that León and America and Guadalajara and Morelia, that doesn't mean those teams are going to miss out on MLS deals, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a one-way thing, but they've basically kind of blocked off MLS as a league as a whole as someone that probably wants to do business with them in the future, which is great. Hey, they got one great signing out of MLS. Maybe that's all they need, but it seems kind of short-sighted to me.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. I mean, I think Camilo's good. I think that he could benefit them. Again, I find it fascinating. Not disclosed. This is why I want to know from the Mexican sources what the actual fee is being reported down there. Because from a Vancouver Whitecaps perspective, they had to get multiple millions of dollars in order to save face in light of their Golden Boot winner walking out the door and wearing the jersey of another team with a contract option, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas, from a Mexican standpoint, they could be more honest about what the actual fee was. And again, Querétaro thought they were getting a player for free. For free. Yeah. That's what they thought from the very beginning. Now, it turns out there's like option and, who wants to challenge who legally is a question, but it still seems odd they would step up with multiple millions of dollars. It's not surprising to me that Camilo's not going back to Vancouver. It is surprising to me if Querétaro paid multiple millions of dollars. 301, you're on the air.
Hey, this is Amir from DC.
What's up?
I was just thinking, this whole Camilo thing, don't you think it really shows that MLS is not prepared to, they're not a league that's prepared to give away players other than take them in. They're not built to give away players.
They're not.
You're saying it makes MLS look big time that they fought for their guys? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think he's in the opposite. What I think he's saying is that that MLS is not built to sell, and that's true. We knew that, right? We knew that MLS isn't built to sell. Is that what you said?
They've sold plenty in the past. I mean, they've sold a lot of big name players,
but under very controlled circumstances. I mean, look, clearly what's at play here is a player making the play. A player making the power play. I'm going to get out of Vancouver because I see a richer opportunity in Mexico. Because Camilo was one of those I'm going to stay here. I'm going to get Canadian citizenship. I'll be a Canadian international. I don't think he didn't love Vancouver. I think he got dollar signs in his eyes. So he made the power play that no other MLS player to this point that I can think of has made.
Well, it's also freaking shady. That's probably why people don't do it.
What do you mean? Well, it's shady because there's a contract option in place.
Yes.
But remember that Camilo comes from a part of the world where those options don't exist and cannot exist.
Well, that's really nice and fine and dandy, but the fact of the matter is he agreed to a contract to agree by those.
I'm with you, but that does look. We see players with culture shock all the time. They come over here, something is different. Something is about the. Remember, Alain Rocha was pissed that he got traded from the Whitecaps to DC United and forced his way out of DC. Made them sell him to Switzerland, some Swiss team. So clearly, there's a disconnect in how this.
But at the same time, when Cumiento wanted to go to do for personal reasons to leave, Vancouver is very accommodating.
But don't you? Okay, but as well as I do that MLS teams will never get the credit for stuff like Cumiento, the same level of credit for Cumiento as they will blame for things like Alain Rocha and not letting players out of their contracts when they want to go, stuff like that. I mean,
or drafting guys that are already owned by someone else.
This is still a league that is dealing on some level. Those of us who've been paying attention, who feel like Taylor Twellman was done wrong. I mean, these are things that happened. These are things that are built up on the league's ledger.
I mean,
go ahead.
Well, it shows. I think it shows the weakness of MLS that he didn't just do this against the Whitecaps. He pretty much did this against the whole league.
That's his only option, though.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I mean, there's that.
That's what happens when leagues own the players' rights.
I've already said several times that I think this is a bad precedent. Now, it is a precedent that is minimized by the multi-million-dollar fee that we don't know what that actually is. But if MLS and the Whitecaps actually did get a multi-million-dollar fee, then it makes the impact of him forcing his way out a lot less because there are very few players.
I think the money is what makes the difference, and you're right when you say that, Jason, because if you go back a couple of years, this is no different than what Dwayne De Rosario did when he went and played for Celtic. We'll start training with Celtic, trying to force the league's hand, and I think the only difference between the two is Celtic probably didn't put up the money.
Something like that. Yeah, there's something like that. Yeah. Celtic wasn't ready to pay for Duan, and he was like 32 at the time or something, like 31 at the time. Like he was already past his prime. I don't know. I think that it's not good for MLS that Camilo did what he did. Very few players are going to try that. And if they did, in fact, get multiple millions of dollars in return for him, then it makes them look less bad in the end. And the precedent is not as bad. That's where.
That being said, though, Camilo Capay got exactly what he wanted when he came to MLS. I mean, I'm sure he came for the same reasons Freddie Montero did. Come here, make a name for yourself, make a money move someplace else.
Those guys are in. How old? I don't know how Camilo is, but those guys
25.
Okay, so he's not old. But do you know where Camilo played before he arrived in MLS? You know where he made
I don't.
name? He played in South Korea and did nothing there, as far as I can tell, and in Malta. Those were his two big time stops after he left Brazil. Malta and South Korea. And South Korea's got a decent league, but he didn't do anything there. 240, you're on the air.
Hi. Who do you think's going to win? Get more goals this season, Eddie Johnson or Jermaine Defoe?
Oh, okay.
Ooh, a user submitted pick your poison.
Jermaine Defoe or Eddie Johnson. Jared, you're up first.
Jermaine Defoe, for the simple reason that, first of all, he's a better striker, and second of all, he's being fed by Michael Bradley.
Based on the overhaul that's having to happen in first, both teams are going through overhauls. Wow. Okay, look.
Yeah, but one of them's rebuilding to a skyscraper. One of them's rebuilding to add an addition to their house.
Yeah, but there's still there's talent in that DC team.
Okay, who's good?
I'll take Eddie. I'll take him.
What have you done for me?
So you're gonna say that he's gonna get better service from Chris Pontius and Nick De Leon than what Defoe's gonna get from Michael Bradley?
You named one player for TFC. Who are TFC's winning?
I mean, geez, I don't even remember right now. Why am I blanking?
Look, I think it's going to be closer than you're assuming right off the bat. I mean, Jermaine Defoe could very well score 20. I think.
Well, here's the difference. Jermaine Defoe just scored in the last week in the EPL. I mean, if you plop down Eddie Johnson had plenty of chances in the EPL and he could never score. One's just a better player.
I don't think that's necessarily germane to this discussion when we're talking about MLS.
How is it not germane to discussion?
EJ scored, how many goals did he score last year in this league? 12 goals? Whatever it was.
12, yeah.
Okay, 7. I don't know. He missed a lot of time with national team duty. Look, I'm not saying that EJ's a guaranteed to be Jermaine Defoe. I'm just saying that if you're going to take Jermaine Defoe, I'll take Eddie Johnson just to mix it up a little bit.
Oh, way to backpedal. I'm just taking the other guy. No, you love Eddie Johnson more than Jermaine Defoe.
I'm saying it's going to be close enough that I can feel okay about picking Eddie Johnson. That's what I'm saying.
Be able to sleep at night if I picked Eddie Johnson over Jermaine Defoe.
Thanks for the call. Thanks for the. You got any more? Got another one that we can argue about?
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Look, Jermaine Defoe is a better goal scorer flat than Eddie Johnson. Mm-hmm. Eddie Johnson has problems that bother me about him going to DC and
like the fact he just signed a contract.
Stuff like that. But then again, Eddie Johnson has shown he can score in MLS. I don't know if Jermaine Defoe can do that right away. If it takes Jermaine Defoe 3 months to get his first goal, then I'm feeling good about it.
All I'm going to say is that I feel Jermaine Defoe is the level of Robbie Keane, and that's what I'm going to say. And if Robbie Keane had no problem coming into this league and scoring.
That's right. I don't think that's right. Because the difference between Robbie Keane and Jermaine Defoe is that Robbie Keane can pull the rest of his teammates into the attack and make things happen as a playmaker. Jermaine Defoe does not have that ability.
At the same time, he hasn't been asked to do that with Tottenham because he didn't have to do that with Tottenham. Just because you haven't seen him do it doesn't mean he can't.
Okay, fair enough.
So I mean, there is a unfortunate law here or rule here that we're playing by, in that Jermaine Defoe's being punished for the fact we've never seen him in MLS.
Punished? I'm just picking the other guy. What's wrong with? What do you mean punished?
What's wrong is it because it's Eddie Johnson. That's what's wrong with it.
All right. Let's.
Very good point by producer Trevor. If DeVio can come in and score that many goals, Defoe can as well.
Fine. You're right.
I feel so dirty standing up for Toronto players like that.
Why?
It's just not right.
All right. The phone line's open 201-430-237. You got more pick your poisons. Bring them. We'll argue for an hour. Well, not really. You don't have an hour left. But we'll argue for 20 minutes about pick your poisons. I love that.
It'd be, instead of Jim, like Skip Bayless, you'd be Skip Davis.
I'm not doing. No. See, don't buy into producer Trevor's nonsense. By
the way, I will ask you, since you were at the draft, answer me this question.
Hold on, I got a Jermaine Defoe thing first.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, speaking of Jermaine Defoe, just to put this whole nonsense to rest, Jermaine Defoe did not say, "I am happy to be in the USA" when he was being introduced in Toronto. That did not happen. Whatever you read, it's nonsense. He's not that stupid. Okay?
I love that line. I mean, listen, whether it was true or not, that got a lot of press. That got a lot of press.
I'm pissed that the people who made it up are getting all of this, credit essentially on the back end. Like they're getting to sit there in their houses looking at their computer, laughing at the rest of us because everybody bought into the fact Jermaine Defoe apparently said, "I'm happy to be in the USA."
Someone got some page views.
Say it. 209, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Phil out in the Bay Area. I got another pick your poison for you. It's in regards to the Vancouver Whitecaps again. After Kenny Miller, who's the next forward that could step up for that team? I mean, they've got Darren Maddox, right? And they've also got Omar Salgado, the unproven 2011 MLS SuperDraft pick.
Forget about that one.
So, curious, what do you guys think?
He invokes the name. I have to play the sound drop. All right, go ahead.
The answer is the one you didn't put, and that's Kakuta Mana. Listen, I just think this guy is ripe for a breakout year. He ended the season strong when he finally got the minutes. You could see it started to click for him. Granted, they've lost Kobayashi, they've lost Camilo, so a lot of guys that are creative players that can get the forwards the ball. That my question is, who's going to play that role for them? But right. I think Kakuta Mana is definitely the guy that could be the goal scorer next to Kenny Miller.
I'm 100% in the Kakuta Mana camp, but if you're going to pick between Salgado and Darren Maddox, I got to go with Darren Maddox. The guy scored goals.
He's playing. Yeah.
Salgado has yet to prove anything, and every time he gets close to making an impact, he gets hurt. I think he's got one or two MLS goals to his name. I don't know that we can really.
Salgado's so close to Real Madrid and so low at Vancouver Whitecaps.
I would love for more Salgado to reclaim his potential. He's still very young. I would love for him to reclaim his potential. Mm-hmm. I just don't know that it's there yet. So it's an interesting situation. Thanks for the call, man. 905, Vince, what's up?
I love the fact that you know who I am. Like I'm getting that recognition.
I told you, man. If anybody else calls from the 905 area code, which I'm assuming is a Toronto area code, I would.
It's GTA, but suburbs or whatever.
Greater Toronto area, whatever you guys call that.
How'd you know that GTA was Greater Toronto area and not Grand Theft Auto?
Well, I don't even know if area is right. Is area right, Vince?
Oh yeah, like I live north of Toronto, and we call it the GTA because we're not Toronto.
Stop with your Canadian like slang. I don't want to know that stuff.
I love that there's no T in Toronto. I love that. There's no T in Toronto. It's just Toronto. All right, Vince, what's on your mind, man?
Just quickly adding to that point, like when I was I have my podcast, when I was trying to come up for my name, I wanted to do GTA FC, but then I'm like, people are just going to assume it's a Grand Theft Auto podcast. That's what people always ask me.
That's true. Yeah, they definitely would. And how badass would it be if you could own a soccer club in GTA? Is that possible yet? Has that happened? I don't know. I'm not on the.
You could probably bomb a stadium.
You probably could. Huh? What else is up, Vince?
Just quickly, guys, before I get to my question, I gotta say, man, I've been binging on Archer, and I gotta say, man, I'm really enjoying it.
Which you just watched the new episode, right? The one that
no, I'm currently on the 4th season.
Okay, so you haven't got to the new one yet.
I haven't gotten to that, but oh my god, it's funnier than I thought it would be.
So we should avoid ruining anything for him, right?
Danger zone.
We hold off. All right. Is that it, Vince? You got anything else, man?
No, just you guys you didn't cover it on your last show, but I want to know what are your thoughts on Agudelo and going to Utrecht.
We're going to get to that. I don't think the Utrecht news was out yet. Thanks for the call, Vince. Appreciate it, man. I don't think the Utrecht news was out yet when we did the last show. We just knew he was going to go on loan. That
Stoke was going to keep his rights and put him out someplace else until he can get a work permit.
Even though there was some question because apparently Mark Hughes said we've signed him, but the chairman said no, we haven't signed him, and there was some confusion there. Eventually, it did come out that he is signed to Stoke City and he will go on loan to Utrecht. Look, I don't know where Utrecht is in the table. I haven't looked at
mid-table, 3 points behind AZ.
Okay, I love it. Juan Agudelo in Holland. I love it.
That's the level I probably wanted him to go to in the first place instead of the EPL. To be honest with you, I think that's a great move for him. I think he has a chance to perhaps see some minutes. I think if you look how good the Eredivisie has been for U.S. strikers as of late, there's no reason to think that trend can't continue. The fact of the matter is, I mean, they don't play defense. So, I mean, he's got that going for him. I watched Aaron Johansson's goal over the weekend. I can't believe the defender somehow missed. He ducked out of the way of the ball. That's how bad the defense being played over there is. Yeah, so I think he's going to go someplace where he could definitely make an impact and make a name for himself. I'm stoked for him. I'm stoked.
You're on the air. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Daniel from Atlanta.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I just wanted to get you guys' views on Columbus Crew signing Steve Clark, the goalkeeper playing in, he last played in Hoffenheim in Norway. In my opinion, he was doing really well in Norway, but I think it's a good pickup for Columbus on their part.
What's the Crew's goalkeeper situation? They still have Grunenbaum, or is he no longer there?
Last I saw, they still had him.
If it's Clark, if it's Clark and Grunenbaum fighting for that, could be a battle for the top spot, because Clark he made a name for himself in Denmark. He was getting a lot of accolades there. Now look, I mean, American goalkeepers, we know what they do, what they bring to the table. I guess if you're Grunenbaum, you got to be worried a little bit, right?
I think this is kind of interesting to me, because it's not like Luis Robles, who was a bit struggling abroad and came back. I mean, Steve Clark's a guy that it was very, very popular in Norway and a good player in Norway. You would think that he was ripe for a move the other direction. So I'm kind of surprised, unless it's the same kind of thing we're seeing so much of right now, where this guy wants to get more on Klinsmann's radar, and he thinks he can do it at home, perhaps, more than abroad.
Steve Clark, 27 years old, 6'2", obviously, as you mentioned, just signed with the Crew. Wow, fascinating stuff. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we talk about goalkeepers and the potential battles as we head into the MLS season. We talked SuperDraft briefly, but we didn't touch on the fact that the Philadelphia Union drafted the top goalkeeper in the draft, number 1, while they still have Zach McMath on their books, and they've got
total like head scratcher to me. Why, when you have, listen, I'm no Zach McMath fan, but statistically, number 4 in the league last year in saves, 101 saves, just a couple behind the two guys in front of him. Why you trade up? First of all, they were in second position. First of all, they must have thought DC was going to take Andre Blake, which would be a real kind of a head scratcher as well.
That's what I thought at first too. But if you really think about it, it's possible that other teams were negotiating with DC to jump into that top spot, and the Union worked out the deal just to keep those teams off of that spot. So it's not the same. It's not necessarily that DC was going to pick Blake. It's that DC had other suitors who were willing to trade with them for that spot, and Philadelphia said, "Well, no, we want to get up there and get Blake." My mind is boggled by this move too. And again, like you said, no giant Zach McMath fan, but you draft this kid again. He's highly touted. Everybody loves him. You know, he's like a year and a half older than Zach McMath right now. Zach McMath came out really early out of Maryland. So it's interesting to me that they go that route. Why not take Steve Birnbaum with the number 2 position? And that way you can at least try to improve the defense in front of Zach McMath and see if he's the problem or not. Granted, I mean, 101 saves, it can mean one of two things. He's a good keeper, makes a lot of saves. It probably more means he has a bad defense in front of him. So why not try to improve that first? Why not try to get Amobi Okugo some help? You have the opportunity to do that. Did they find a center back? Because they traded Jeff Park. Yeah. What are you doing at center back, guys? Because you got rid of your defensive leader. And yeah, I know you got Amobi Okugo. I think everybody agrees that Amobi Okugo's best position is a defensive midfielder position, not center back. He can get it done there, but do you really want to waste his ability? I know. Maurice Adu was going to play center back. Oh, wait, see, it should be the other way around. They have 2 center midfielders they're going to put at center back. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I mean, we haven't addressed Maurice Adu on this show because there hasn't been any movement. We talked about him on Wednesday night. There hasn't been a whole lot of movement on it. We don't know where those negotiations are at the moment. That's another thing. Let me throw a theory out to you. Maybe there's a team out there that needs a keeper, and Zach McMath can get traded for allocation money to buy down to Maurice Adu's salary. That's possible, I suppose. That's possible. But why you need to give me more credit. I'm the one that was the architect of the Bakary Samari trade last season. I give you that knowledge ahead of time. Okay. All right. Oops, not that one. This one. Jay Rodius. Why would you hand the keys to the car to a kid straight out of college who has never played a lick of professional soccer in his life when you have Zach? Again, not that John Hackworth loves the youngins. But again, Blake is older than McMath. But he didn't pick McMath. He was stuck with McMath. Maybe he hasn't liked him the whole time. This is a guy he inherited from Peter Novak. He probably didn't. I just think this is a terrible way to go about replacing. Okay, let me ask you a different question then. Is Zach McMath an elite keeper in your mind? No.
Okay,
No.
so maybe they think this kid is, and that's why it's worth the risk. And then you sell Zach McMath off.
I get it. That's probably what's happening here. And by the way, if you didn't listen to our NASN coverage of the Super Draft or didn't listen to Soccer Morning the next day, apparently Zach McMath was out in the lobby of the ballroom at the Pennsylvania Convention Center, giving his agent a dressing down. Now, it happens to be that the same group that represents Zach McMath represents Andre Blake, which I think is fascinating. I love that kind of crap.
It's so incestuous right now. But here's what I find another interesting thing coming out of the Super Draft. I think everyone had pegged Patrick Mullins to go somewhere in the top 5, maybe to New England. Instead, New England go with Steve Newman, and they still get Patrick Mullins at the 11th pick. That kid dropped.
You say that, but the chatter leading up to the draft is that he was going to drop. I mean, that was kind of what everybody expected to happen. Now, how far he dropped was a different question. He ended up dropping to 11. I mean, I'm not saying that he was okay. I'm saying that Patrick Mullins. This is one of those phenomena that happens with the draft. You have a player. He wins the awards in college.
Yeah.
Have too much time between when he does his thing in college and then when the draft comes around. There's just too much time to analyze him. And that gives him, and because he's got the target on his back, because he won the awards, that immediately leads to people breaking him down and breaking him down and breaking him down. I'm not saying that he's the best of the crop. I'm saying that he probably fell farther than he deserved to. But hey, New England is a fine place for him to end up. If he is going to turn out to be an MLS goal scorer, we have no idea right now, then why not New England?
So you're saying that Patrick Mullins fell into the trap of the Jason Gary kind of way, where a kid huge out of college, maybe people don't think he can make the step to the next level is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically. And Jason Gary obviously didn't turn out to be a whole lot of anything. So, I mean, the conventional wisdom held in that sense. Whether or not it holds on Patrick Mullins, I don't know. The one thing I do know is that Maryland has produced players who have figured out how to score in MLS before.
By the way, I just put a link there in the comments. I want you to click on that. That's a picture of Nick Hagland. Tell me this guy. This is the Toronto FC first round draft pick. Tell me this guy doesn't look like a 50-year-old Bobby Boswell.
Wait, how old? 15-year-old Bobby Boswell?
50. Look at Nick Hagland. That guy looks like he's 50. That's Bobby Boswell in 20 years right there.
He's not even 21 yet. No, he's not even 22.
I know, so why does he look like that?
I don't know. I'm shocked that you decided to go with that guy and focus on him rather than focus on the top pick of the second round of the MLS Super Draft.
Oh, who has the hair for days? Thomas
McNamara out of Clemson University, formerly of Brown University, by the way. So he was an Ivy Leaguer before he ended up at Clemson. Clemson, he's got the full-on mullet. I mean,
it's mullet and a mohawk in one. It's like a what do you call that? A mohawk?
A mohawk. I think we're definitely doing mohawks. I don't think there's anything better than I don't think you can do better than mohawk.
But this is a very un-Chivas pick. This kind of intrigues me to what the Wilmer Cabrera
off the rails. I think they obviously decided we screwed up. There's too much heat. We've got to just go away from all of this.
So you're the white boy from Clemson.
They're gonna take whatever they're gonna take, and I think that.
Ooh, looks like Jason maybe froze up there for a second. We'll take a quick break, guys, and we'll be right back. Get Jason back on the air.
The hair is great. I mean, I don't know what Chivas is going to do this year. Again, I think it's obviously indicative of something that they hired Cabrera, and he's just an MLS guy, and he knows the league, and he's going to bring in good kids. I mean, I hope that that's what Chivas is doing, right?
I'd like to. I think that's what they're. I hope that's the direction they're going to go because they really need to make a change on this. I'm going to pick one other player out for a very arcane award. I'm going to vote second round draft pick to San Jose Earthquakes, Joseph Sophia from UCLA, most likely to be a future Bachelor on ABC.
Okay, you mentioned
look at that jawline. That guy's a good looking man.
We don't have time to go into The Bachelor, who stuck his foot squarely in his mouth this week.
On the same week where he's going to be featured playing with the Galaxy on The Bachelor.
No, and that's why it's on the rundown. Juan Pablo Galaviz said some stupid things about the examples being set and blah, 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 about nonsense, homophobic quotes. And now the Galaxy are going to be, it's your boy AJ and who else?
I like that. It's lucky that it's not Robbie Rogers, though.
No, that is lucky it's not Robbie Rogers. And I wonder how MLS is going to approach this now because they've been pretty keen to tie themselves in with Juan Pablo, who never played in MLS, was only a D2 player in this country. They've been keen to like tie themselves in, get on the Bachelor train, and now wait a second, he's going to be homophobic.
Invested in the PR that was Robbie Rogers, got rid of the Boy Scouts when the PR got bad on that. So they've really put themselves in one camp. So they have a really kind of sticky PR thing to do here in terms of how they're going to separate themselves now, if they're going to separate themselves from The Bachelor.
All right, we have very limited time. I think what we do is the 2014 U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame nominees have come out. The list of possible Hall of Fame inductees. You want to go down the list real quick? You give me a thumbs up or thumbs down, yes or no.
I'm gonna. You go through the list. We can each give our top 2 guys and 1 girl because I think it's really heavy, more guys than girls on this list. So.
Had more of a chance to look over this list than I have.
Okay, I'll read it out loud then, and you can figure out who you want to keep. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead. All right.
On this year's nominee class is Chris Armas.
We're limiting ourselves to how many?
2 guys, 1 female.
2 and 1. Okay. Why? Why are you discriminating?
Because there's a lot less girls on the list than guys.
I see. Go ahead.
At least of what I'm counting here, it looks like there's more guys. All right,
Right.
Chris Armas, Raul Diaz Arce, Marco Echeverri, Lori Fair, Robin Fraser, Chris Henderson, Zoran Karic, Chris Klein, Jason Kreis, Eddie Lewis, Christine Lilly, Kristen Luckenbill, Shannon McMillan, Kate Sobrero, Mark Kraft, Clint Mathis, Brian McBride, Jaime Moreno, Victor Noguera, John O'Brien, Ben Olsen, Cindy Parlow, Cone, Steve Ralston, Ante Razov, Tiffany Roberts, Tony Santa, Brianna Scurry, Taylor Twellman.
Brianna Scurry. Wow, man, this is tough. Okay, if I'm forced to pick,
let me tell you how I choose to do it. I choose to do it on grounds of I don't take too much account of what they did in MLS because it's a U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame.
Oh, I'm going to go with Brian McBride. And oh man, well, I mean, it's American. It's supposed to because obviously Raul Diaz Arce never played for the USA.
I know, but I choose to less heavily weight MLS in this.
Okay, I'm going to go with McBride, and I'm going to go with Lily.
Okay,
on the inside. I think for the other guy, man, that's really hard.
The second one's the hard one.
Yeah.
Because right now you've already nailed the same 2 I was going to pick. And I think my third one, I'm going to go with Clint Mathis. And it was a 2-way battle between Clint Mathis and Eddie Lewis for me.
Okay. All right. Both of those guys are good picks. I mean, I almost want to go off the US men's national team board and pick a guy like Arce or Echeverri because I think that those guys deserve to be part of this.
Let me go a different way. If we just had, say, you had to pick 3 in general of this list, is the better 3 Brian McBride, Christine Lilly, and Brianna Scurry? Is that a better 3 if you're just going to pick 3?
Probably. You can't really underrate what Brianna Scurry meant to the women's team. 772, you're on the air.
Hey, it's Naveed from Florida.
Hey, Naveed, what's up, man?
I just wanted to quickly comment. Soccer mullets, chicks love them. I had one for a while.
Chicks love the soccer mullet.
Yeah. Wait, he said chicks love soccer mullets?
That's what he says.
Chicks love soccer thighs and butts. You just happen to have a mullet on top of those.
Okay, go ahead, Naveed. Jared wanted to shout you down. Go ahead. Make your case. You got like 30 seconds.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I've had women from across the street shout at me because of my.
What is that thing?
I rocked it for a couple of years.
Man, thanks for the call,
and
Naveed.
it makes you better at soccer.
Yes, definitely.
There's no way the drag that's made by a mullet makes you better at soccer.
Look, the guy you're talking about Hall of Famers. There's some Hall of Fame mullets on this list too.
Oh yeah,
Hall of Fame mullets on this list.
I believe Eddie Lewis even had one at one point. Well, maybe not Eddie Lewis, but there's a few of them on here, man.
I will never rock the mullet. It's way too late for me, but it is interesting. All right,
Echeverry, I don't think anyone can match his.
No, never. We're about to get out of here. All right, please ratings and reviews on iTunes help out a lot. Go support the Best Soccer Show that way. Follow us on Twitter, Best Soccer Show. Follow Jared.
You never said your second name for the guys.
I did not.
No, who is it? Quickly,
I'll go with Echeverry then.
Okay.
Because I mean, again, I think just go off the board, not make it about the national team.
Bias.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? No. I mean, anything else that I need to add here before I start playing music?
I think that's it, man. I think congratulations on Soccer Morning hitting its goal. I'll be making an appearance on that. I actually met our person that Scott Utterson that paid the money to get me on Soccer Morning. I told him he gets to pick at least one topic discussed that day. All right, then it's going to be fun because I don't think it's going to be a soccer topic. That's going to do it for us, guys. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. Bye.
Dead in a sweater vest.